Seed by Seed: The Legend and Legacy of John Appleseed Chapman by Esme Raji Codell. Illustrations by Lynn Ray Perkins. Seed by Seed: The Legend and Legacy of John Appleseed Chapman by Esme Raji Codell. Illustrations by Lynn Ray Perkins. When we look out of our windows, what do we see? Tall buildings, stores, and parking lots, buses and cars speeding by, red lights and green lights and yellow lights and white lights. Our country is hard and electrical and moving. But it was not always this way. Once it was a tangle of roots and branches and wide tree trunks. Once you could not hear the engines of airplanes in the sky or the sounds of phones ringing. Maybe you could catch the creaking of a wagon wheel, straining against the ruts in the road, or the fall of an axe against wood, the bark of a dog, the crackle of a campfire, the chattering of squirrels, the pecking of a sapsucker, the slapping of water against a riverbank, or the sound of the play of leaves turning silver gray-green in the breeze, a shh, like whispered secrets for the bees to carry off. The moon shone on the snow until the land glowed like a pearl. The stars glinted in the sky, and the candles flickered from their lamps. And in this quiet, tree-bough-tangled world, the world before the cement was poured and the lights turned on, there lived a man of his time, John Chapman, better known as Johnny Appleseed. The tales of Johnny Appleseed are 3 parts legend, 1 part fact, stories we're not sure are true. But the man, John Chapman, was real. He was born on September 26, 1774, in Massachusetts. He never drove a car or sent a basketball flying through a hoop. He never acted in front of a camera. He never wore a medal. He grew apples and offered them to the pioneers heading west. But wait, so what? A farmer? Why should we remember him today, more than 200 years later, and call him a hero? I will whisper the answer to you, a secret silver gray-green. He lived by example. And of the many footsteps he took across the frontier and his bare and knobby feet, he left 5 for us to fill. Use what you have. Share what you have. Respect nature. Try to make peace where there is war. You can reach your destination by taking small steps. No one is certain why he began his work of planting apple trees. He claimed that spirits and angels told him to be a messenger of peace and to grace the way to the west with an offering of fruit. What we do know is that by doing the same small act of planting seeds every day, Johnny Appleseed changed the landscape of our nation. Seed by seed, deed by deed. What examples did he plant for us? Use what you have. Most apples around the start of the 19th century were grown from making cider. John Chapman started his nurseries of apple trees by obtaining apple seeds from owners of cider presses in western Pennsylvania, who were just going to throw the seeds away. Chapman dressed in coffee and potato sacks, or wore used clothing that was given to him by people trading for his trees. Some say he carried his tin cooking pot on his head like a hat. He had a style all his own. Share what you have. Chapman was rich in coin and rich in friends. He sold and traded trees to pioneers, but if a person could not afford them, Chapman would still allow that person to take saplings and pay when and if he or she was able. Chapman had 11 brothers and sisters, and they helped one another out when they could. Besides his love of apples, Chapman also had a strong affection for reading, especially books by a religious man named Emanuel Swedenborg, who preached love, tolerance, and faith. It was said that John Chapman used his open shirt as a pouch to carry his books. It was also said that he ripped books into chapters in order to circulate them between settlers. He liked to gather children and their families around him and delight them with a story time, news right fresh from heaven. In this way, he was the frontier's first librarian. Respect nature. John Chapman lived most of his life outdoors. He was a vegetarian and also had a vast knowledge of herbs and their uses. Besides planting apples, John Chapman liked to plant fennel, a bulb that smells strongly of licorice and that he believed had medicinal powers. In some parts of the country, this fast-spreading plant is still called johnnyweed. Dog fennel, also called johnnyweed. Pennyroyal. Mullein. It is said that he lived in peace with the animals. Legend has it that he released a wolf from a trap, and for a long time afterward the wolf tamely followed him wherever he went. Once he slept at one end of a log, with the bear and her cub at the other. Another time, when he noticed that his campfire was singeing the wings of mosquitoes, he doused the flames in order to save the insects. When he saw that an animal was being abused, he would buy that animal, nurse it back to health, and find it a good home. The only animal he was known to have killed was a rattlesnake. Though he acted in self-defense, he was said to have always felt badly for having taken that life. The Native Americans respected him for his spiritual bond with his surroundings, his kinship with all that grew and lived. Try to make peace. John Chapman moved freely between Native American and pioneer communities, and he was trusted by both. I sow while others reap, where there is war. He warned each side of the other's impending attack, usually by walking through a room and reciting a mysterious rhyme. Be sure my warning keep. John Chapman journeyed hundreds of miles across state lines on his own 2 feet, or by canoe on the waterways, planting and maintaining his tree nurseries over 100,000 square miles. His trees flowered and fruited across the Ohio River Valley, and they were shared and carried off to homesteads far and wide. You can reach your destination by taking small steps. He grew so many apple trees that chances are any apple you eat today is from a descendant of a tree planted by Johnny Appleseed. After catching pneumonia during an especially cold winter in 1845, John Chapman passed away. His sweet spirit lives on in the apples we eat and in the seeds we plant to make our country and our world a better place. Seed by seed, deed by deed, Johnny Appleseed changed the landscape of a nation. And now it's your turn. one small deed every day. What seed will you plant?